Matthew East here. I'm coming to you outside the National Library. This is where I shot Horrors in the NDIS Part 3, where the second time I described all the crimes I saw at Humanity Health Group. Now, today I'm going to talk about some more of those. I'm going to talk about a woman called Sarah Samuel. So when I was working at Humanity Health Group, I lived in a house. I lived next to the church where Mr. Learman lived. Father went to church. There's a woman called Brittany Higgins. Turned out Mr. Learman most likely raped this person. It was a big kerfuffle. He claimed that he hadn't raped her. There was a mistrial and he got off on but then he tried to sue her. There was a big media storm. It was a big thing. But there's another time which I saw similar conduct, and that was with my friend Ryan Bradley. Now, Ryan was falsely accused of rape by another midshipman when we were at the Naval College. This was when we were both very young. Both of the people in this story are very young as well. I don't think Ryan holds the other midshipman in contempt anymore, with contempt, but it was a horrendous experience, and it stopped him ultimately from becoming a chopper pilot and getting his degree through ADFA. He had to change paths at that point, and things did not work out for him in Navy. I told these stories to a woman called Sarah Samuel because I told her that I wanted to record my sessions, and it was incredibly important for me to record my sessions because I was working with very vulnerable people who often had something called borderline personality disorder. Now, it's unfair to pathologize an entire population of people, but for the sake of simplicity, I might be doing that today. With borderline personality disorder, within this population, there is a characteristic of it is that people latch onto people for intimacy. There's a lot of fake allegations. There's a need for connection. I understand this because my own attachment system is pretty fucked up because I've been abused horrifically, and I've worked in an industry where there is no care for me, for my well-being at all. This is something which was showcased by Sarah Samuel in this case. And what happened in this situation is that I made a point that I wanted to record my sessions. She flagged this as a potential child safety issue. She falsely believed that there was a threat to two of the young girls who I was working with, because with anything, as you go through a therapeutic progress, as you get used to doing therapy, because remember, I'm a junior psychologist. I'm talented at this, so I perform outside of what would be expected for someone in my position. And I have a lot of real-world experience, which is very highly transferable to the role, more than most people ever have. But with that, it still takes a while to learn how to make sure that your barriers and your boundaries stay solid. And it's very normal to have issues when you're a counsellor dealing with traumatic things as a caring person and not cross interpersonal lines. And these are the kind of conversations that you should be able to have with your manager and should be able to have with your clinical supervisor, but because of the highly litigious nature of the industry, and also because it's a very corporate, for-profit system where our only interest is profit and there is no care for my well-being, I realized that I needed to record my sessions and have them hopefully given to a third party. So when I eventually did have the inevitable, absolutely inevitable fake allegation, I would be prepared for it. Now, Sarah Samuel used these stories of Bruce Learman and my friend Ryan Bradley's stories as user manuals to destroy me after I had a conversation with her where I questioned her about our billing practices, and after that she stopped talking to me. She manufactured this situation, and I do need to note that after I was fired and I lost my family, my home, a woman who was pretending to be something similar to my girlfriend, but we were never had any form of real relationship. I was then abused. I had my porn account doxed, and all these things done by Humanity Health Group. I did kind of that strange divide I had between myself and these two young women who I was caring for and very concerned about, because they were dragged in through this entire mess by this woman. I did kind of have sort of a bit of a breakdown, and that happened very publicly. And I used that to come up with the concept of Kamari, and that's how the TARCO project formed its ideological base, and that's where we get our colours that we use for demonstration from. It's a protest against the behaviour of these corporate people and the way that these corporations treat their employees and see us as nothing but tools for their profit and tools to make them feel special. And that's where it really goes down to with Sarah. Sarah she's always been the ugly duckling. Now, I would not be talking about her like this if I had the chance. Unfortunately, she has behaved so horrifically that this is how we're talking. And whilst in some videos where I've been very angry, I've exacerbated how I talked to her previously, I was nothing but respectful to Sarah when I worked for her. There was one instance where I said, "Oh my God, Sarah, I would freak out if I saw an invoice like that," when I saw what they looked like when they were being set out, because none of the invoices said what they were actually being charged for, and they were intentionally meant to be as confusing as possible to understand so that we could keep fucking charging them a shit ton of money. So what happened is that she threw me under the bus, okay? And she did everything she could to marginalize me, and she both manufactured a child safety incident, and then she exacerbated how bad that incident was, because there was no threat, there was no issue, there was no threat to child safety. There has been no problems apart from the ones that she has manufactured and the events that she has created. And then afterwards, and this is the horrific thing, is that she then started liaising with the police and the participants about this issue, right? And tried to be advising the police around this situation. So the person who originally abused me and manufactured the problem to silence a person that she had a disagreement with, then maneuvers herself into a position with the police where she then has the ability to control and dominate that person. Now, this is a situation where there's been a pretty heinous set of misconduct done. What I would suggest is that she be terminated from her job, and if possible, there should be some form of criminal charge. And this is what needs to happen, because what she has done has been pretty fucking heinous. Like, I think every man in our industry is shrieking at this woman's conduct. And I need to express that Sarah Samuel has done one of the most heinous fucking things you can possibly do. She painted someone as a pedophile, and she's going to need to take the consequences of that, and the consequences of doing that should be worse than being called a pedophile. I think she should go to prison, or at least I think she should have some form of criminal charge to make it difficult for her to get work, because she's made my life hell, and she deserves to suffer, and I will take great pleasure in her suffering, and as her victim, I look forward to it. None of the young women in my situation want me to suffer, because they understand that this has been a very strange and horrific circumstance for me to be in, and I am the victim in this situation, not the person who's manufactured the problem. Sarah Samuel, your head is going to roll from the Humanity Health Group, and you are going to face some charge or another. The community knows who you are, knows what you've done. The police who've worked with you are going to understand what's happened, and they're going to turn on you, and you deserve this. And your colleagues, when they look at you, will know what you have done, and for the rest of your days, this is the story, and will be your legacy, and this is what will be associated with you, Sarah. For what it's worth, no, I'm not going to wish you a good evening. Fuck you, you horrific, mediocre bitch.